This is the Strange and Mysterious World podcast, in conjunction with Elucis TV. These are your hosts, Lee Strydom and William Collinson.
And welcome to Strange and Mysterious World, Season 5, Episode 10. Tonight's guest, Kris Land, all the way from the US. He's a creator, mentor, and best-selling author, actually, of a trilogy of books called The Infinity Within. And it's obviously all to do with about breaking out of your fear and becoming the person who you were really meant to be. So really keen to hear about that. But before we get on, my name's Lee Strydom. I'm your host, and my co-host is William Collinson. And William has got a special announcement to make with something that's getting released actually tomorrow from our side. So William, what is that all about?
So my new documentary, The End of the World, it's going to be released tomorrow on my streaming platform, Elucis TV, where you can get there's documentaries there on consciousness, healing, spirituality, paranormal, everything that we kind of talk about on the show, but like proper full-length documentaries that you can go there and have a look at it. And Lee will put the description in the link below. Don't forget this time, Lee. And
100%,
just before we start, so this is what the documentary, it says, so it's going to be released tomorrow. It's going to be called The End of the World. Now, this isn't a doomsday in the Hollywood sense. It's about something far more interesting, the idea that humanity may be reaching the end of an entire cosmic age. In the film, we explore ancient traditions from India, esoteric philosophies, and modern research suggesting that we may be living at the end of the Kali Yuga, a period of darkness and confusion that many traditions say must eventually give way to a new age of consciousness. The film features deep conversations with researchers like Bibi Divsmera and Kiara Winrider, which we both interviewed on the podcast a few times, and looking at cycles of time, ancient knowledge, and the possibility that the strange events we see happening in the world today may not be random at all, but part of a much larger cosmic cycle. So if this interests you guys, please go to Elucis TV now, and you can, now it'll be out. By the time people watch this, it will be out, because this will be released on Tuesday, and the film would have been released on Friday. So with that said, here's the trailer.
War is peace, greed is God.
The end of the world as we know it has been unfolding before us for a couple of decades.
Human civilization moves in cycles.
A great tribulation will come. One of the signs of the end times is that people are going to be rebellious. They're going to be lawless. The increase of wars will be drastic. Nation is going to rise against nation. There's going to be this battle of Armageddon. I think that we are coming towards the end.
As with any substantial change, it's tumultuous.
Men have become more and more enmeshed in material pursuits.
There are people who learned how to manifest a lot of power, a lot of wealth, who has a vested interest in keeping humanity trapped.
The light of the spirit has been getting fainter.
We do not know the difference between what is the truth and what is not the truth anymore.
It seems very clear that the end-time prophecies are telling us about the passage of our earth through a swarm of comets and meteors, which brings about widespread destruction and thereby fulfills the events mentioned in the various prophecies. End of this age is near, and we need to prepare for the new age that is on the way.
Okay, well, there was actually a fantastic trailer there. I really look forward to watching that. And for everybody else out there, please watch it, support Will, and support us by clicking on our link on YouTube and buying us a coffee, and like and subscribe, which would be always fantastic. And here's Kris. Nice logo.
There we go.
Hey, Kris.
Kris, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Good, man. Sorry,
that's William's fault.
That's me.
William's
I'm sorry.
fault.
I don't know why.
It's all William's fault. Got it.
I take it. God, it was actually so. Yeah. How you doing, man?
Been good, and you?
Yeah, doing great actually. But yeah, so tell us about yourself and this book that you've written. Can't wait to hear about it.
Where would you like me to start?
Well, look,
So how did you get into it?
we did a podcast recently with Brent Michael Phillips, also from
Okay.
your side of the world, and he had started because we are very William and I are we mystics. We very into this otherworldly stuff and consciousness, specifically consciousness and the other realms, and so we very into that kind of stuff. And when we interviewed him, it was awesome. And I see you've got something very similar in where you're dealing with fear, where fear is like you kind of got to overcome that fear to kind of show the person who you really are. So I think that's actually quite awesome, and I think that works, hand in hand with what we're currently doing here on the show. So, yeah, how did you start? So if you start from the beginning, how did you get into this whole thing?
All right. So I grew up in North Dakota. I was very much what is considered a computer geek, probably still am. So I didn't get along with a lot of people, but I started selling Apple II computers when I was in junior high. So that'll age me a bit. One of the people that bought their Apple II from me was a third generational farming gentleman who wanted accounting. He wanted to do accounting on the computer. And he knew how to do accounting, and I knew how to write code. So we did that. We created a company around the idea. And a few years later, sold it for a whole bunch of money. And so at the age of 17, I sold my first company, which was really good, according to most people, right? And about 2 or 3 months later, I hit a huge, deep depression, which is a little odd, right? But you hear stories now about people that win the lottery and destroy their lives. And for me now, I understand, at least from my perspective, how I went into depression after doing what most people would be considered pretty cool. And that was that I'd lost all my goals. I thought I'd accomplished everything that I was told in the material world I was supposed to do. I mean, I did a company, I sold it, I made a bunch of money, and now what? And so it left me in a place of literally, now what do I do? Then I got hired at a bank in San Diego, and my boss, who coincidentally his name was Kris as well, he kind of started this interesting process because he told me in one of our discussions he was an atheist. And even though I don't have a problem with anybody believing anything they want to believe, it didn't sit right for me for him. And so I kind of noodled that around and ended up coming up with 4 questions that you can ask that proves all the upside is in believing you have a soul and all the downside is in believing you don't, regardless of whether you do or don't. So I'm not trying to prove we have a soul necessarily, but I ask questions that show that all the win is in at least believing it, regardless of what's actually going on. And that started me for the next part of the step, which is great. If we have a soul, what is it? What's it doing here? What's the purpose? And then 2 other things kind of created the 3 legs on the stool that started me on the journey of what was originally going to be called the soul path and eventually became the Infinity Within, which is during my childhood, 2 things I did. 2 things, well, one thing happened to me, one thing I did. I was very curious in theologies, so I spent a lot of time studying many different theologies, going all the way back to Sanskrit, Egyptians, and modern day stuff, and then the Bible and all these different theologies, Buddhism, and was always very curious about how all this worked and why we spend so much time here. And then the second part is I've had a lot of things happen to me starting at age 6 that would be considered not normal, that I would say or argue is more normal than what we're taught is normal. So what I mean by that is I had out-of-body experiences at age 6 going on. I had a very significant near-death experience that just as easily could have been a death experience when I was 15. And a number of other things that completely shifted the way I look at reality and what we're told is real versus what I think is actually going on. And so a perfect example of that is, how many stories do you hear of children being able to see ghosts?
Yeah, it's usually around when they're until about the age of 5 or 6, and then it stops. Or past lives, a lot of past lives as well.
Absolutely. Now, what is the one common thread with parents and children that see ghosts or things that aren't normal and get scared?
Yeah, tell them.
What do the parents do?
Yeah, they say there's no such thing. Just kind of cut them off.
Yeah, and it's make believe. You had a bad dream. You ate the wrong food. Whatever it is, but whatever you saw is not real. And so we're taught at a very young age that what I would argue is the illusion is real, and what's really going on is not real.
The illusion.
And so as we move forward, so those three things got me down to the question, great, what is a soul? Well, if we take a look at all the different theologies, what I found from my perspective is that they all have different semantics, but they all kind of say the same thing. Mm-hmm. And so if we boil it down, and I'm just going to use the Bible because it's really easy to reference, and it's arguably the most read book on the planet, right? And that is, there are certain chapters and verses, and actually quite a few of them, that say things like, we are the children of God. You will inherit your father's abilities. Jesus tells his disciples, you will do everything I have done and much more. And we can go on and on and on. So if we take that from a more literal sense, it basically means that each and every one of us is a godlike entity, that we're each this soul power that is here. Well, okay. That gets me to, great, if that's true and we're godlike entities, well, what does that really look like? And because if we're godlike, that means we exist outside of space and time, right? We're these energy beings. Well, what does an energy being of that level do? And I could only come up with three things that they kind of can do. They can create stuff, which means anything, galaxies, planets, dimensions, whatever. They can destroy stuff, and they play games. And so now let's get into the description. Great, let's describe what those look like. Because again, my background is computers and science, and so I always look at everything from a question point of view, right? So when we question creation, destruction, that's pretty easy. We all understand what creating stuff and destroying stuff means, right? But then we go to the game. Well, what is a game? What really makes a game a game? Well, again, I could only come up with three things. We have playing pieces, we have turns, and we have rules. And with those three things, you can have a game. Okay. So then I started down the path of, great, we have this fourth dimensional construct. For the lack of better words, we'll call it the game of Earth. It exists in fourth dimensions, meaning the primary motivator is time, which does not exist in 3 dimensions and below. And even though it exists in 5 dimensions above, it's not the primary motivator, meaning the most important element of the 4 dimensions or of the dimensions. Okay, what is an omnipotent soul being? What would they find interesting in being in a fourth dimensional construct? And I could only come up with one thing. Want to take a guess?
Play the game.
Okay, but why?
Well, if you've designed the game, you want to actually go in and play it yourself. So like if you play games, PlayStation, whatever, you're seeing the game, you might have designed it. You think, okay, well, let me play it. Let's see how it plays out. Let's see what we can experience in this game.
Well, maybe you're just bored of sitting on a cloud and you want a bit of a challenge.
Okay, both are great answers, but the answer I came up with, I'm going to say a little differently, and no answer is wrong. But how about experience emotion or experience?
Yeah, sure. Because if you're going to become a god, you need to learn how to
experience everything.
experience everything and learn how to deal with your emotions. Because if you're going to build a galaxy, you don't want to be like the guy building the galaxy next to you, be like, F you, and start blowing up his galaxy. You got to like learn like how to like play fair.
It could be, could be. The soul, though, outside of time, exists across eternity by the definition of God. So if we can only do three things, which is create stuff, destroy stuff, and play games, why would we play a game in a fourth dimensional construct? And that would be to experience emotion, to experience, right? But then we have to take a look at
turn it down a notch. I wish I could just turn the feelings just down, like maybe just 25%. You know,
well,
all of them.
Kind of, but maybe not. So let's take a look at that. So we understand the playing piece is us. It's a piece of us, or us, right? As a soul being. Let's say that the turns are lifetimes, that each turn is a lifetime. And then let's take a look at what the rules might look like. Well, we're at the pearly gates. We're looking into the game. We're going to agree to these rules in order to play the game. Now, why do we do that? It would be like the three of us sitting down and playing a game of Monopoly. I ignore the rules. I take all the money and all the properties, and you guys look at me going, yeah, that was no fun. We're not going to play with you anymore, right? So there's rules in order to make the game interesting, challenging, and fun. So what would the rules look like? Well, I started noodling around with that, and I came up with the first rule would be that when we enter into the game as a playing piece, that we agree to leave all of our godlike abilities out. Now, why would I do that? Same example with Monopoly, right? If I, as a human, play Monopoly and take all the pieces, it's not a lot of fun. So we're these godlike entities that say, okay, great, we're going to leave all of our godlike abilities up here when we go play. Well, that kind of works in experiencing emotion, except for the minute my favorite dog runs across the street and gets run over, I go, no, no, no. I pull on my power, I change the event, and it never happened. Well, that doesn't, even though I can experience emotion in a fourth dimensional construct, if I can tie into my abilities at whim, I'm really not going to feel the breadth of emotion, because anytime something happens I really don't like, I just change it. So now we get into rule number 2. Rule number 2 is we agree to forget we ever had them. Now that works really well, except it's an infinite trap. And I would assume that soul beings are pretty smart and aren't going to enter into a game that's going to leave a piece of them or them trapped forever. Right? So then we have to have rule 3.
Scary.
Yeah. So then we have rule 3, which is we agree to have turns, and turns are going to be lifetimes. And before we enter in, we kind of map out, not like fate, like figuring out, everything we do in life is planned out. That wouldn't be any fun, right? That would be like saying in Monopoly that I'm going to roll 6s all the time. That's not fun. So, but I am going to generally figure out what my turns are going to be and what I want to accomplish generally in a turn in order to move to the next turn and move on. And so what it looks like is I go into a lifetime. I'm there to experience emotion. I've agreed to put my godlike abilities away and forget that I had them. And I want to accomplish certain things in this turn. But if I don't, I get to do the turn over and over and over again until such time as I actually accomplish what it is I set for myself. And then I get to move on to the next turn and the next turn and eventually leave the game. Well, that makes sense, right? So the fourth rule would be that when we're playing, we're 100% invested in the game. Now, the other 4 rules, I'll let you read the book or we can talk about it at another time. But basically, those 4 rules set up the fact or the premise that we are all soul beings playing these turns, lifetimes, to experience and do certain things. and then eventually move along because we're not going to trap ourselves forever. And then one of the things I just described, have you ever heard of the Archons?
You know what? Just before you, I was just about to ask you about the Archons, because I wanted to see where it fits in with your beliefs. So where we've kind of understood the Archons as these, can't really say gatekeepers, but they're these entities that prevent you from moving forward. They almost like wanted to trap you to where you are.
So you're absolutely spot on. The agnostics say that the Archons are these godlike entities, the creators of reality, meaning our fourth dimensional construct. But it actually paints them as fairly evil, and that they trap us here as souls in order to feed on our energy. And most importantly, they love negative energy.
Yeah, and then it's gone into the reptilians, because then people took the Ark. But you said the agnostics.
There's that whole
Gnostics or the agnostics? The Gnostics, isn't it? The Gnostics.
Agnostics, sorry.
Yeah. No,
or Gnostics.
The Gnostics, that's right.
Yeah. So that viewpoint is interesting. But then if you take into effect that we're spiritual beings, meaning we're the children of God, I'm going to bet we're not that stupid, and we're not going to enter a game where there's evil gods that can control us. However, I could definitely see where we would add the concept of Archons, or even the ability of Archons, in order to do exactly what you said, which is make the game complicated, keep us in the turn longer, or confuse us until we actually see the breadcrumbs we leave for ourselves. Because I would also think that we would leave breadcrumbs for ourselves in order to have game cheat codes as we move through our lives, because we wouldn't want to be trapped in here forever. So we would allow ourselves certain breadcrumbs or cheat codes at certain points, especially if we played the turns over and over for a long time. But I would argue that the Archons were intentionally designed and put here, maybe not to feed on negative energy, but to keep the illusion in place, to bring fear back in front of us, to create the doubts that we feel in order to not remember who we really are. And that would make sense because, let me take a side channel here. Do you guys play tic-tac-toe?
I used to.
Yeah, sometimes with my daughter, yeah.
Do you play it a lot?
No.
Why?
Because crack, Dad, now to win every time.
Pretty boring, right?
Yeah.
I mean, once you figure out you just put them and block it, that's the game, right?
Yeah.
Well, from a human perspective, tic-tac-toe is pretty boring. Go is pretty challenging. From a soul's perspective, would you enter into a game that's tic-tac-toe level? Or would you enter into a game that is more go level and much more challenging, with things that could get in our way and make things more difficult and have us experience a lot of different things and have a lot of stuff happening, like having this construct of an Archon or Archons that are fiddling with let's call it the frequency of how we operate. So a perfect example is, have you ever done something that's considered not normal, like out-of-body experience or near-death experience, or any of those kinds of things happen to you?
Jeez, I've been trying to have an out-of-body experience for about 7 years, and I've never achieved it.
I've had one, and that's why my life changed completely. I had one out-of-body experience, and I knew then I knew the truth. So straight away, it changed my life.
Perfect. One of the things that I've found through my life is that when you intentionally go to make a shift, meaning you tie into what you are, there's ways to do it. There's two absolute ways. There's the slow kind of figuring out how fear attaches to doubt and how doubt blocks us from doing things. And that when you get rid of doubt, you actually go do these things. Then there's the near-death experience version, which I would not suggest for anybody because it's kind of black and white, right? You either have the near-death or you have the death experience. However, near-death experiences, if you talk to anybody that's had it, it's completely changed their way of looking at how things operate. Because with near death, you have to remove 100% of doubt for even a millisecond in order to tie into what you are, to change the death experience into a near-death experience, right? So, but what I found is, even with understanding or having this construct playing for me the way I've described it, when I go do something, like let's say I do a teleportation, or I do this or this or this, and I accomplish it, two things happen like back to back, like within milliseconds of accomplishing this really cool thing that's not normal. The first one is elation. Oh my goodness, I did it. And within a millisecond right behind it is, no, you didn't. That didn't happen. You imagined it. It's not real. And the doubt curtain falls down and the fear curtain falls down. There's no way you could have done that, because that's how the game is built.
So do you think, like, with your near-death experience, it's like you came too close to the interface and it's almost like cheating, because they're like, oh, they like, shit, he just saw too much. He actually saw too much now. Like, he's fucked up the game experience, excuse my French. Or like, or us doing all these spiritual things, we're getting too close to the interface, like with the meditation and breath work or whatever. It's like kind of cheating in a way, because now we like seeing how the game is running, and is it cheating in a way? I mean, should we maybe stop doing that just so we can just immerse ourselves in the game?
No. We are, I would argue, every one of us are co-creators daily in this game. We're constantly co-creating what is going on, which, if you look into quantum physics, quantum entanglement, and all the different things that they're figuring out now, you know, that nothing is real, and that perception makes it real, right? So we're co-creating this moment by moment. And one of the things that I'll take a side channel and then I'll answer your question. So growing up even this weekend it happened to me. I can be sitting in a restaurant or in a coffee shop, minding my own business, reading my book or whatever I want to do. And somebody will pull up a chair, not even asked, sit down, tell me their life story. We'll have a conversation. They'll get up, they'll leave, and I'll never see them again. Now, most people describe that as a coincidence. Just coincidentally happened that this person decided to sit down. I say there are no such things as coinkydinks. They don't exist. We are all tied together, and when we have a meeting, such as this one here, we already made a connection through what we really are and said, we want to go do something. And the reason I came up with there are no such things as coinkydinks is that when I started being really curious about all these people who would sit down and tell me things that you would never tell somebody, it's like, why is this happening? And what I found was that every single one of them sat down to hear something I had to say, and I needed to hear something they had to say. And so it wasn't a coinkydink. We already made a connection, and then we met in time to achieve whatever it is we wanted to do. So back to your question about the near-death experience. So for me, what happened is we're in North Dakota, you're allowed to drive at a younger age because most of us are ranchers and farmers and live out of town. And in my case, my dad was a rancher and oil man, and we lived out of town. So I got my license when I was 14. And my folks gave me a Mach 2 Mustang when I was 15. And then I had 6 accidents promptly in the first month.
Jeez. And you didn't have a drinking problem, because I did that, but I didn't have a drinking
problem. but let me qualify this. The first accident I had, so it snows and it's icy in North Dakota. And the first accident I had is I was going down this hill and I hit the brakes and I slid into this motorhome at like 2 miles an hour. But it freaked me out because it was my very first accident. So I got out of the car and I ran up and rang the doorbell and said, I'm so sorry, I ran into your motorhome. And they came out and looked. There's not a scratch in either vehicle. Then they laughed at me, said, "Why did you even bother ringing the doorbell? Go." That was my first accident. And then each one got a little bit bigger. The sixth one was this old lady in a giant full-size Cadillac that ran a stop sign and moved the passenger door about to the middle of the car. Neither of us had a scratch on us. And it wasn't, I mean, other than the car was pretty damaged, there was nothing else. And my dad, for whatever reason, to this day, I don't know why he opted, but he had it fixed. So it was in the shop for almost a month. The night I pick it up from the shop, I'm driving home on Old Highway 10. It's a little 2-lane road that's got kind of slopes going off, and there's snow. And I'm driving, and I'm a teenager, so I'm not so smart. So I'm driving like 60, 70 miles an hour on icy, snowy roads, which is not something you really should do anyway. But as I'm going down, there's this black pickup truck that's doing this at me. Drunk driver coming straight at me. So I pull the car off as far as I can, and he misses me by inches. But now I have a new problem. The snow is sucking my car down this slope towards the concrete pylon of a bridge. Not good. All of a sudden I feel,
It sounds like the movie Final Destination. Like it's like, have you watched that?
If I hit that bridge, it would have been a Final Destination. So all of a sudden I feel this surge of energy, this bright flash of light. The car goes 90 degrees from its original path. And I'm talking 60, 70 miles an hour. I go across the road, shear 6 trees off, smaller trees.
Jeez.
The car is 3 feet off the ground. The steering column has punctured the driver's seat that I'm hanging by my legs upside down from. And the engine is partially torn out. And I didn't have a scratch or a bruise on me. I then crawl out of the window, right? I crawl out of the window.
Definitely Final Destination.
And I go up onto the highway, and where the car shifted 90 degrees is a 1-inch pile of snow. Now, you tell me how that happened.
Jeez, I thought you were going to tell me you're going to come up to that snow, you're going to slip on it, fall over, and hit your head, and that's how. And then you died. The next near-death experience.
So at that point in my life, it became extremely clear to me that what we're told is going on, there's a lot more to. Because I felt the surge of energy. I felt and saw the light. It took 3 wreckers to pull that car out of those trees.
That's amazing.
Everybody that drove by, there's not a bunch, but the wreckers, everybody thought somebody died in that car. That car was done at that point. But I kid you not, I didn't even have a bruise on me. So that's just an example. There's a bunch. And in The Infinity Within, it's designed to be kind of a non-fictional memoir of things that happened to me through life, through a fictional character named Gabriel, or Gabe he goes by. The book is designed not to preach or tell people anything. That's not my goal. I want people to be free to take their own beliefs and their own cycles. What the book is designed to do, and I've been very fortunate the reviews have reflected this, is you follow Gabe through his life story. He meets a mentor named Elias. Elias, being a really good mentor, asks questions. He doesn't preach or tell Gabe anything. He asks questions. In fact, the first time Gabe meets Elias is in a coffee shop. Imagine that. And the first question that Elias asks Gabe, like the opening question, they say hello, they sit down to have some coffee together, and he says, "Do you believe you have a soul?" Because that's what started me on this journey, right? And so Gabe answers this in a way that a lot of people answer this, and that is, I don't know. How do I know I have a soul? How do I prove I have a soul? Right? And Elias says, I get that. Do you believe in love? Do you believe love exists? Why? How can you prove it?
Yeah, it's only a feeling, I suppose.
So anyway, that's what started me on the journey. Then I'll shorten the answer that's now gone on for quite some time. I went, when I was in my 19s and 20s, I'd finished the construct of originally what was going to be called the soul path or your soul path. I hired a ghostwriter, and she kept wanting to make it her own book. So I fired the ghostwriter because I was not an author at the time. I put all my notes in a filing cabinet 40 plus years ago. And then I founded 11 other technology companies. I took one public. The rest were either acquired or merged. But all along this lifetime and this path, the construct or the ideas we've started discussing have lived within me through the whole process. And my wife, who I met in San Diego, had some fairly difficult things happen as a child. And so she would ask me how I looked at life and why I looked at life in the way I did. And I would talk about things. And eventually we ended up talking a whole bunch about the book. And so she said in beginning of 25, you need to finish this book. You need to get this book published. And by this time I'd published other books and been receiving very nice reviews and stuff like this. And so for the first 3 months of 2025, I did nothing but take all my notes and finish the book and get it published.
Wow, well done.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's amazing. So I wanted to ask you the whole game concept that we're coming down and having the game. So do you reckon when the game gets totally out of control, the what do you call it, the developers, the game people, they're like, geez, we better send someone in there just to like kind of neutralize the game, it's getting out of hand, and then they send a Jesus or a Muhammad or a Buddha or do you think that's was their purpose?
You've asked about 5 questions there. Okay. So first off, there's 2 ways of looking at this game. One is that the Archons are actually these gods that feed on negative energy that created it, and that we're trapped here as souls. That's one potential way of looking at this. I choose not to look at it. I choose to say that we're pretty smart and that we're in this game and that we are co-creators, meaning that moment by moment, day by day, we are actually, all of us, co-creating what's going on. So can the game ever really go out of control? No. Can it go down some strange paths? Absolutely. Then you say, well, you know, are there adjustments being made? Well, I would say that those coinkydinks that everybody calls coinkydinks are little signposts, cheat codes, little chimes, and some of them big, right? That you left for yourself. And that being aware that there are no coincidences gives you the ability to start seeing them and start being curious about them and start digging into them. Because we have little miracles and miracles happening every day. It's just that we're taught as children, they're not real. We ate the wrong food. It didn't happen. And so once we start seeing the signposts for what they are, we can start becoming curious and start actually reconnecting and remembering, which is what the infinity is about. The infinity within is following Gabe as he starts remembering, and he knows he had all these strange things happen as a child, and he knows that they didn't match what he was being taught in reality. But then through Elias asking questions, he starts making these connections and starts remembering that we're each these co-creation souls in reality. Now, how does Jesus play into this? In the introduction of the Infinity Within, I use 4 characters to kind of introduce the book. My mom got very upset with me that I added the 4th. She didn't like the 4th at all. So the 4 characters, or not really characters, entities that I added into the book, 2 are kind of old world, and 2 are in our current day. The first one, of course, is Jesus Christ, because according to the Bible and a lot of different stories, he's done a lot of really cool stuff. And then we've got the Buddha, who also arguably has done some really cool stuff. So, Jesus has done healing, parted oceans, resurrection, those things. Buddha has brought in the concept of being in the present moment, and that the future is the future, and you can change that moment by moment, and the past is done, and understanding those things. The third character, if you talk with him, according to him, went through some extremely hard times before he started writing his books and coming to a place where he understood reality in a more comfortable way. And that's Eckhart Tolle, or Eckhart Tolle. If you read about how he grew up and where he was before he became the author of The New Earth and his other books, he was in some pretty dire straits, right? Mm-hmm. And then the fourth is Elon Musk.
Oh, wow.
Now, why would I include Elon Musk? My mom says this. What are you thinking?
Because he's the best player there is.
No, man, he's South African.
Mastered yeah, and he's South African, of course.
Look at what he's done. He built a car manufacturing company when everybody said you're going to fail. When DeLorean tried to do it and failed miserably, and now arguably Tesla is the largest car manufacturing on the planet. He then was told that it is absolutely impossible to reuse and re-land rockets. Can't do it. Countries have tried. NASA's tried with billions of dollars. It's impossible. And yet several years later, he's made it a daily event. It is impossible for anybody to run 5 or more multi-million-dollar companies and have any of them succeed. Yeah, he's doing that too. So, if we sat down with Elon and said, "Are you a spiritual leader?" I would say he'd probably say, "No, not really." But look at what he's tying into. If he's tying into what we are, he's completely bypassing doubt. And I'm sure he struggles with doubt, but he bypasses it and creates. And when people tell him he can't, he does it anyway.
It's so funny because when you were talking about it in the beginning, you were saying about we had to play this game or whatever. I was actually going to say okay, well, what about Elon Musk? What is he? I would love to know what he's here to learn, because it seems like he's mastered the game already. And then I was thinking, but maybe is that why people get that taken out? If you just walk across the street and a bus hits you, it's because you've learned what you came here for, so we just got to take you out now quickly out of the game, because you've actually just learned everything and you might as well just go now.
Yeah, or you've accomplished what you were supposed to in that turn, and you decided from your soul path that, like you said, I've done what I came here to do for this turn. And so I'm going to leave now, and then I'll reincarnate into my next turn and do my next thing until I go through whatever turns I decided I wanted to do, and then I leave the game entirely. Right?
Yeah, 100%. But also there's for example, with Elon Musk, it might not just be the fact that he's learning, but he's also teaching at the same time. So, you know what I mean? He might be learning his specific game rules and game what he needs to do in his game, but at the same time he's teaching everybody else around. If they just take the time to watch and listen to what's going on, you can learn from that process. And also, as you were saying, also as you were saying earlier with Jesus and Buddha, they perhaps are game constructs, but they're there to remind us of who we are, because we tend to forget. Even though we've got that game rule that says we need to forget, but there's always someone that will come down and say, just remember you've forgotten, but just remember who you are, where you come from. Because there's some people that might awaken up a little bit or sooner, because they need to awaken up sooner to fulfill their contract or to fulfill their job that they need to do. Others will remain sleeping until such time as maybe in 8 lifetimes from now, it will be their turn. And they'll be, okay, they now need to wake up to. And that's why the world is as it is. Some are highly awakened. Some are still fast asleep.
Exactly right. Let me ask you a question. So when I was growing up, my parents are United Methodist. And so, they believed in God being up high and the All Father, and Jesus was up high, and he saved us and did all these things, right? And even though I felt like godlike entity exists and Jesus existed from the standpoint of what we're taught, it never sat right with me as a child to look at him kind of like above me or and I don't mean this in an egotistical way, but out of my, superior, but out of touch, like a totally different being, right? And until I put pen to paper and actually spent those 3 months writing this book, I didn't actually realize the impact that it would now have on me when I read the Bible. And what I mean by that is now, from putting the book together and thinking about it as a game and a construct in this way, maybe Jesus came here as another co-creator and wanted to get a lot of souls awakened and teach us. So maybe the chapters and verses in the Bible are actually to be taken a little bit more literal than, oh my goodness, it's up here. And now, after kind of digesting, because when you write the book, of course, it really gets ingrained, right? Now, when I sit down and read the chapters and verses, it's like, oh, maybe this is meant to be a little bit more literal. And if it's more literal, that actually fits this construct really well. And to the point that you said, which is, the game is designed to make us forget and to keep it complicated, a hard game, meaning not tic-tac-toe. However, these different beings or players that come in and show us cheat codes, it's up to us to say, ooh, I like that cheat code, I'm going to run with it. Or, no, that's not real. That's just a story. They ate the wrong food, not me. Whatever it is, right? So we're constantly, by the nature of the game, kind of made to forget and to feel small and disconnected. And we're taught, when our parents tell us that the ghosts aren't real, they're not doing it to be mean. They're doing it because they see that we're in fear, and the best way they know how is to tell us it's imaginary, right? However, what could be going on is the game in play. Already as a child, we're being told to not go with what we're seeing and knowing, and to go with what we're being told, which is this is not real, and what's real is we're small and disconnected, when in fact we're actually very connected and very open. But again, my parents did the same thing. When I first had my out-of-body experience, scared the crap out of me at 6. First thing I did was ran up to my folks' bed and climbed in. First thing they said is, it didn't happen. It was a bad nightmare, right? Yeah. And they did it to give me calmness and everything, right? But then I start questioning myself. Well, okay, this out-of-body experience where everything became like smoke and I could see forever and I could hear voices from everywhere. It was very, very different. I discussed this in the book, where I picked up this toy train I had sitting in front of me. And even though it physically had the shape of the whole train, when I picked it up, it felt like it was tissue paper. It felt like it had absolutely no substance at all.
Wow, so you're like feeling this astral, like whatever, the astral
Bingo.
Frequency.
Bingo, the frequency amazing. Of it, the quantum part of it, right?
Wow, that's amazing.
So, and that happened at 6, and I had it happen 2 more times. The third time was extremely visceral in the sense of what ended up happening. But the point is that we're all given these signposts. But we're taught to ignore them. We're taught they're not real, even as a child.
Can you imagine, Kris? Can you imagine now at that age? And I had also, when I was young, I had so many scary things happen, and your parents always said, "No, don't worry, it's a nightmare," or whatever. But can you imagine now? You had gone to your parents the first time it happened, and you were with your mom. Your mom said, Kris, that's normal, man. Don't worry about that. Next time it happens, go and write down everything that happens, and then you follow up with that.
I think that would have been more helpful.
We would be in such a mystical world now. I promise you, everybody would be so different. so
the thing,
different.
like, that's why they're keeping Kris alive through all of those car accidents. And well, obviously it was to give him the teaching, but to keep him alive so he can write this book to teach us how to play the game better. But
I certainly, when I had that happen, the near-death experience, I came out of it with, I'm here for a reason. Didn't know what it was, but I knew I was here for something.
Well, yeah, exactly. That's why you're on the podcast and you wrote your book. And what I love about what you said is that, like, Jesus came, or Muhammad or Buddha, whatever, comes down and he gives you these cheat codes. Like the Bible, the Quran, the Puranas, or whatever, the Vedic texts, they're all like manuals, like how to play the game. But then it's so frustrating because then you see all these people like, no, you got to play it like this. No, you got to play it. But it's actually the same manual. If you look at it, it's all actually exactly the same. The Torah, the Bible, that's so frustrating that these people can't actually see it's the exact same like rule book, and they're all fighting over that their rule book's better, but
better than the other one. Yeah. And you're absolutely spot on. Yeah.
And if they just play the rules,
but the reason for that is, say you've got the Bible. Say you've got the Bible. Okay, you've got the Bible, and it's in English. Just say it was originally written in English. We understand what it's saying, okay. But somebody else who's got the same Bible can speak English. This is a Chinese version, and they understand a little bit of Chinese, so they're like kind of okay. They're picking up bits and pieces, and they're thinking, okay, this is what it says. But in reality, that's why, in my opinion, Kris, this is only my opinion. In my opinion, if you go and read the Gnostic readings of the Gnostic teachings of the Bible, it goes so in depth of what's actually going on and what's been said. There's alternative theories and visions and ideas of what's going on. You don't actually even, if you're reading it plainly, you don't see it. It's only when you go into it and you understand the text, then you know, okay, that's how the game is played.
I'll give you a perfect example of that. Eckhart Tolle's The New Earth. I got it, I don't know, 10 years ago. I read it, got some really cool stuff out of it. Sat on my bookshelf for 2 years. Took it back down and read it. It's like, I don't remember any of this.
There's
all this new stuff that I didn't even think about.
Yeah, exactly.
Did somebody go reprint the book on me? I mean, this is a totally different book. Put it up on the shelf. Put it up on the shelf. A couple of years later, read it, went, holy crap, I didn't get any of this out of this book.
Yeah, that's me all the time. Yeah, it's like because you've evolved, you've matured to learn the next lesson that book has to, or whatever the teacher has to tell you. You didn't pick it up the first time, and your consciousness is grown, your understanding is grown. So then you go back, you see the teachings again, and you now you're ready to get the next information, but it's the same teaching.
Download. Absolutely.
And I've got goosebumps talking about that. But so that's it's quite incredible. But the pity is that if we just took the rule books and just did what the rule book said, like the Quran, the Torah, and the Bible and everything, I mean, we would eventually make peace on earth. It's just a pity that we all think our rule book's the right rule book, and then we fight for it, and we actually missed the teaching. Like, I mean, even when I was reading the Old Testament, I mean, Moses comes down with those 10 commandments, right? And if you just follow those commandments, you could make a pretty decent, like almost a heaven on earth here. But then he comes down, and he sees, and then, what is it? I think it's the commandment number 3 or 4. It says, "Thou shalt not kill." And he comes down, he sees him with the golden calf, and then he goes and kills 3,000 of his own people. And I'm like, dude, you just came back with the rules, and now you're breaking the fourth one, but like not even just breaking it, you are like seriously breaking it. You've just and your own people, you just killed 3,000 of them. I mean, you can't even like keep to your own rule book. So,
but now, William, that's because you want to play the game on tic-tac-toe.
I'm in the shallow end. You mean like I'm not going in the Gnostic text, like in the deep. I'm not getting in the ocean.
No.
And I'm going to go down into the.
You've entered God mode. What's the hardest mode you can go into? So you got to experience the shit. You have to, otherwise you got to live tic-tac-toe.
Yeah, the problem with heaven on earth, the concept is that each one of us as co-creators can create our own heaven on earth and do what our path is, be in resonance with what our soul path is, be in frequency with where we're going and what we're doing. But that's your path. That's my path, right? Another soul's path. Here, let me take another digester here. How many people do you know go and watch horror movies?
I do all the time.
Okay.
Actually, I don't know. No, I don't even like watching a normal movie.
I don't watch them, but that's okay. Why do you watch them?
I absolutely love horrors. I don't know why.
Okay.
I think you're possessed, Lee. I don't know if we can be friends anymore.
So, horror movies have death, dismemberment, blowing things up, killing people, jump scares, all these quote unquote negative emotions, right? From a human perspective, horror movies represent this kind of construct of going out and doing something different that kind of leads us into a different set of emotions that we wouldn't necessarily feel in a normal life, right? Now, let's take that human perspective and expand that to a soul's perspective, entering into this game of earth. If I experience only love and flowers and wonderful stuff 24/7, that's going to be kind of like you said, a little bit like tic-tac-toe. At some point, the game is not going to be that much fun because I don't have the dichotomy or the breadth of emotion that I'm really here to experience. So I don't know how many people you guys know. I know quite a few people that have had some pretty horrible things happen in their life. And when they were in the middle of it, it was pretty horrible. But when they got out and completed that cycle, they all of a sudden found a completely new expansive path in front of them. Like I had a very good friend of mine lost their mom and dad to a horrible situation, and it was horrible. I mean, right? I mean, it's their mom and dad, and they went through the cycles of death and feeling horrible and all those things. But when they came out of it, and after they were actually able to kind of process it, the way they looked at life changed dramatically. And they as a person are actually much happier now, even though they went through this horrific time. It's that dichotomy or the yin and yang of life that gives us the flavor. If you don't know darkness, how do you really feel the lightness?
Correct.
If you don't see what hate looks like, how do you really know the expansive nature of love?
Yeah, sure. That's the whole duality of the. But sometimes people don't make it out there, but and they commit suicide.
They don't. But then their turn will probably end at some point, and they'll get to come play again.
Yeah.
And again. And again.
Yeah. Now, according to the Buddhist tradition, the beads, the Buddhist beads, the Bodhi beads, there's 108. And according to them, you have 108 incarnations, which is, actually pretty cool, I suppose, if you work it out.
It's very cool. I've got a couple of different experiences that say that might not be. The way I would look at it is the game might have originally been designed, or the person that came up and designed the beads may have actually designed their life for 108. But from my past life regression stuff I've done, I've only been in the game for 3 turns.
Oh, wow. You're really this advanced.
Well, all I can tell you is I had some weird past life regression stuff. Then I've met some folks that in learning about. I'm sorry.
Was it with the hypnosis? Past life regression. Yeah.
A lot of my past life regression stuff was done in what's called auditing, which is a Scientology thing.
Yes, yeah. The auditing on Scientology. Yeah.
Yeah,
and because that's what they do. They go into past lives. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's there's a lot of people that don't like Scientology, and just like any religion, there's pros and cons to everything. But what I can tell you is that their auditing concept and what they do with auditing is pretty cool. What they do is they have this thing they call an e-meter. And it's basically a very fancy ohm meter. It has particular things that they built into it, so it's more advanced than an ohm meter. Do you know what an ohm meter is?
There's the thing that they hold, and it measures your...
That's the e-meter, yeah. But an ohm meter measures resistance in electricity.
Okay.
So
ohm meter.
Bingo. That's exactly its name. So an ohm meter measures resistance in a wire or a resistor or in a path of electricity. An e-meter does the same thing, but exactly like you described. You hold these cans, and then they have a person that's trained to use the e-meter and read the meter. And then the meter has a needle that tracks what's going on when you're holding the cans. So when you initially sit down, they check for what's called a floating needle. And basically that makes sense that when you're breathing, right, your resistance is changing by your breathing. And so the needle is literally floating based on the cycles of your heart and your breathing. Now, here's where it gets kind of fascinating. Let's say that we want to do past life regression. In my case, the one that was really empowering was what's called overts and withholds, which are things that I did intentionally or unintentionally that hurt other people in the past, or present and or past. And so you go down this, they ask questions, and they say, okay, tell me about the first time or the most recent time you remember doing something that was an overt or withhold, where I hurt somebody either intentionally or unintentionally. And your brain goes to it, right? Now, for me, what happens is the needle starts sticking a little bit, and I physically feel like there's a brick or two added to my shoulders. I get an actual physicality from this process. It's fascinating. Wow. Well, then they'll go, okay, go to a previous time. And then you go down your time track and you remember something more, and it sticks a little bit more, and some more bricks get added.
Oh, wow.
So we kept doing this, and we got everything cleared, because what they say by cleared is the thought process is this. Let's say that when you're 2 years old or 3 years old, you run across the street and you get hit by a car and you get knocked unconscious. And while you're unconscious, a dog starts barking. And then you're grown up, and every time a dog barks, you get this severe migraine headache. It's like, what the heck? Every time I hear dogs barking, I get this incredible headache. What's the deal? Well, the deal is that our psyche, our minds, are what we are in this game, records everything, whether we're unconscious or not.
Yeah, even when you're sleeping.
And so the mind recorded when we were hit by the car and unconscious, and was recording the dog barking. So what they'll do with the e-meter is you'll come in and you say, well, yeah, I get a headache every time I hear a dog bark. Okay, well, tell me the last time that happened. Okay, well, 2 weeks ago, a dog was barking, I got this severe headache. Great. Go down the timeline. Eventually, you'll get right before where you were unconscious. And then for me, what happens is when it gets to a place of unconscious, or more importantly, previous lifetime, it becomes like this little point and I can't access it yet. But my needle gets stuck and the bricks are there. And so both the auditor and I know there's something in that pinprick. And so they keep asking you different questions to peel this pinprick apart. And so what happens in the dog example is eventually you remember, oh yeah, I got hit by a car when I was 2 years old. Well, as soon as you do that, you've now got to the base of that whole timeline and it blows. It no longer has power over you.
Yeah,
so now
recent.
so you blow it because whatever that core beginning was that what's called the reactive mind has been sitting there as a program. As soon as you see it and mentally touch it, it blows. And so now dogs can bark all day long. You get no headaches because that core programming you've seen it, you've removed it, right? Yeah. For me, what happens is the bricks go poof, and the needle starts floating again.
Wow, amazing.
So it's really cool stuff.
Yeah,
so anyway,
No, I just wanted to say, like, this whole Scientology thing. I mean, it's so fascinating because the two most successful people I know that are like they're so successful. I mean, are you talking about like knowing how to play the game? They've cracked it, and they are so like wealthy, and it's just incredible. And they're both Scientologists, and they swear by it so much. They're like, "This is what made me successful," and I'm like, I've watched the documentary on Netflix. I know all of the bad stuff, but I'm in. Like, I want to do this thing now. So I've been wanting to do the auditing, but I think now you've told me how it works. I hope it's not going to like mess it, because where there's smoke, there's fire. Because I mean, you can't have an organization like that that's so big, that's influenced so many people, that was so powerful with something that's not. There must be something there that's profoundly working. And I mean, Ora Ahmed, he wrote that book, Dianetics. It was the best-selling New York Times bestseller. There's something there that is really working, and if it didn't, it wouldn't have been so successful. So there's something there, and that's why we can't throw the baby out with the bathwater. I don't care, like, I can make a billion bad movies to say how terrible it is, because obviously people, they will use that power and they will abuse it. But I reckon there's something there, and I actually want to do that auditing thing. But now I hope now that you've said all of this, I'm not going to be sitting there going like, oh, I know how this works now. My mind's not going to get into that space, and I'm going to be like not in the zone because I'm thinking about how it works now.
Yeah. Well, the auditors are trained to be very professional and not react to anything you say. And they ask the questions, and depending on what line you're going on, I mean, they have many, many different lines that they question and have you go through. But you said it, I mean, what you said is spot on. And that is that with any man-made or human-made organization, there's really good stuff and there's really bad stuff. I mean, you know, there's all in between, right?
We know how to fuck it up, a good thing, you know? We always do. I mean,
people are people. Pretty much any group, any organization, you're going to have the good, the bad, the ugly, right? It's
I mean, look at the Christianity. I mean, how many people do those guys kill? They've killed like more people than probably anybody, organization, or anything on this earth. They're the biggest murderers ever, but from the most beautiful.
The Crusades were not a friendly time.
I know, and they give the Muslims a bad rap. I'm like, geez, have you gone and read that Old Testament? Like, and you know the Crusades, and you know the Dark Ages, and everything up to now. Those people were murderers. You think the lovely guy on your door knocking there and giving you this Bible, and you're like, oh, this is so peace and loving. For this thing was brought to us on blood. It's a blood book.
Well, I wouldn't say the Bible is a blood book, but the people that were in those times were definitely not commandment free.
Sorry, before everyone hates me here, it's just that I'm trying to say we take a good thing and we stuff it up completely, because I mean, the New Testament's a beautiful thing. You know, the Old Testament, that thing makes Game of Thrones look like Alice in Wonderland. So.
but you know, it arguably is more factual, right? I mean, it's that the time that the Old Testament was written and the time that those people lived, one could argue that that's the reason that Jesus came into the game at that time, in order to try to get people to understand that this kind of really horrible stuff might not be what you're here for. And really, as a teacher said, hey, folks, wake up. It can be a lot more fun than going out and murdering everybody every day. Right?
Yeah. But then we went through the Crusades and everything. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
but, sorry, Chris. So now, geez, I make us so sidetracked. So the Scientology thing. So you reckon that helped you a lot on your? Are you still doing the Scientology stuff?
No, I really enjoyed it. There are some things that I didn't enjoy so much. And again, like I said, there, everybody things. The auditors I worked with were fantastic. The auditing system is fantastic. The things I didn't like so much is that they were very good at asking for money to fund their stuff. And that if you're not very conscious of what and where you want to go and be, that they can get money out of people pretty quickly. If those people aren't strong in their own mental space, right?
Yeah. When
somebody comes to me and says, I want a bunch of your money and I don't want to do it and I don't think the value is what I want, I say, no.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that aren't able to say no. And unfortunately, that, and they come from it. They would argue that they're coming from it from a point of view that we want to save you. And it costs money to save you. And so we're going to get your money so we can help save you. And I get that. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just, there were certain parts of it that I didn't like. But there's certain parts with anything like this that are, like you said, that best-selling and so on and so forth, that are really well done. They have a thing called the Basic Study Hat. And it's one of their basic books you can buy. Oh, perfect.
Somewhere there.
How many people do you know or have told you that they can start reading a book and they fall asleep?
Yeah, almost everyone.
How many people?
I do.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you know why?
I get bored.
Okay. It actually is what's really great is that L. Ron Hubbard, when he wrote the Basic Study Hat, he actually came up with a construct that makes a lot of sense. And that is that when you're reading a book, you come across a word you don't know. What you do is you just skip it and keep reading. But your brain has now created a thread to that word it didn't understand. And then you keep reading, and another word that you don't understand, you bypass, and there's another thread. And the reason you're going to sleep is at some point you get so many threads that the brain goes, I'm out of energy now. Because I've got all this attention on all these unknown words that you didn't bother to go figure out. I still have attention there, and now I'm really tired. So the way to get around that is to have a dictionary sitting right next to you. And the Basic Study Hat, the book, if you read it, will tell you exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah, I remember saying that. Yeah.
Yep, is that as you're reading, if you come up with a word you don't get, you stop, you pull it up in the dictionary, you read the definition, you use the word in a couple of sentences so your brain gets it, and then you continue on. And you can read for hours without ever falling asleep if you follow that procedure.
Geez, but with me, it'll take like 10 hours because to look it up. I mean, my English is so bad. I'm going to be looking at the dictionary every 5 minutes. And because I did it, I was like looking, and I was like, geez. And then, like something that would take me 1 hour to read, I'm reading it for like 3 hours because like 2 hours is on the dictionary.
But you will accelerate because as you're doing that, you're building your vocabulary live.
Yeah, no, of course, yeah.
And so even though the first book might take you 2 months to read, the next book might take a month. The next book might take 2 weeks. The next book a week. And pretty soon you're very fluent.
And then the next podcast, I'm speaking to Lee like a Shakespearean, like William Shakespeare. And he's like, William, I can't even understand you anymore because you're just using all these big words. Like, what are you saying?
Fair enough. So anyway, that's, yeah.
So Chris, sorry, man, back to your book now. So on Amazon, obviously you've got it on Amazon currently. I see it's got a 5-star rating. That's actually awesome. That's
Yeah, I've been extremely fortunate. The reviews that have been left have been what I was hoping for, which is the people are consistently saying it's not a preaching book. It doesn't tell me what to believe. It allows me to take from it what I want through the fun experience of reading how Gabe makes it through life. And one reviewer said, it feels like my best friend sitting next to me and we're having a discussion about life. And so the reviews have been phenomenal. I've been very blessed. If you use my name, Kris Land, or The Infinity Within and go on Google, I take up like the first 3 pages.
Oh, wow.
Of links.
Jeez, so cracking the code, man. Like you playing the game.
Yeah, I mean, the book has been doing really well. It's being sold. So I talked to a bookstore in Norway that's selling it. There's a couple in Barcelona. There's a couple in Australia. Bookstores all over the world are selling it. Here in the States, we've got Amazon, Apple, Barnes and Noble. Of all places, you can go to Walmart and buy my book.
Okay.
So I've been very, very fortunate and pleased that the book has been accepted as well as it has, and that people are really finding it beneficial in especially today's challenging times.
No, that's awesome.
Oh, lovely.
And are you going to be writing another one?
So The Infinity Within, when I wrote it 40 years ago, was just a book. But through my life experience of using it for 40 plus years, it's now a trilogy.
Oh, wow.
And so book 2 is called The Orchard Hush. I've finished my 3rd draft because every time I write it, it's like, I want to change this. I don't like this. And I want to make sure that it really speaks, right? So I'm into my third draft is pretty much done. And now I'm hopefully the 4th draft I'll be happy with. And so maybe the middle of this year, I'll get ready to publish it. And then the outline for the 3rd book is done, but there's no writing on it yet. But it's designed so the first book is really designed to remember.
Open your mind.
Open your mind and remember. The second book is a little bit more about how the concept of the Archons and how day-to-day life gets in the way of remembering and is designed to get us to forget again. Even though we may have remembered and had some really cool stuff happen, there's this overall thing that's designed to make the game difficult that's always in play. So book 2 is more about how to live in that space and stay in remembering. And then book 3 is more about how to expand in that space and how to really start taking, let's say, I'm being somewhat not facetious, but I'm taking some advantage here of saying to start playing a little bit more like Elon or some of our other teachers. To actively take what we are and actively be a co-creator instead of just kind of moving along through space and time.
Wow.
How do people find you, Kris?
So they can find me with krisland.com, KRISLAND.com. You can find me that way. TheInfinityWithin.com, TheInfinityWithin.me. There's a number of different ways, but if you go to Google and just type me in, you can find me in a bunch of different ways.
Okay, that's
nice.
awesome.
Okay.
We would like to bring you back sometime in the near future. Would you be up for that?
Absolutely. I've really enjoyed our conversation. You bet.
No, awesome. Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, you guys are great. Yeah, it'd be a lot of fun.
Okay, awesome,
Thanks,
Kris. Well,
yeah,
thank you for coming on, man. And you are really cracking the game. I mean, like with all your companies and with this book now. So, yeah, so
keep at it.
Definitely, we got to read the books to learn how to do it. What you've done.
Absolutely,
so,
thank you.
Thank you.
Will do. Well, and with folks like you and getting the word out, it's huge. I mean, what you guys are doing is huge, and I really appreciate you having me on your show so that I can get this book in front of even more people and hopefully provide a mirror to a lot of people that are just having some challenges in life and having some difficulties. I mean, we're in the old Chinese proverb, live in interesting times. We're definitely in some interesting times right now.
Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna.
Yeah,
I'm
I know.
definitely
So
gonna.
we need these
I'm
books and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna purchase that book of yours. I'll read it. So next time
Awesome.
we come over, we could chat about it.
I would love that, and I don't mind sending you an email, electronic version right away as well, so you can get started. But I would love to have you get the book.
Yeah, cool, awesome.
Are you guys open for a little story that is an ego booster for me?
Yeah,
go for it.
Okay, so this is the first book I've ever written that deals with soul work and soul path, right? So this is a very different niche for me because my background, as I discussed, is more computers, technology, and that stuff. So I published the book, as we talked about, middle of 25, and I'm looking for a particular voice. I want a particular style and voice for the Audible and Apple, Audible version.
A name came into my mind, but yeah, okay, Karen.
So I looked and I found a guy, and his name's Eduardo Bellini, and I'm probably butchering his name, but that's pretty much what it is.
Yeah.
And so I get a hold. Now, a little bit about this guy. He has done over 750 narrated books. He's done Eckhart Tolle's books. He's done the Dalai Lama's books. He's done Dean Koontz's books. And he's done a bunch of other books in this niche of some of the top authors in the world.
You must be just enlightened from reading.
He's an award-winning narrator. He's also an actor. I think he's on a TV series right now. And I think he's also a producer.
Wow.
So I get a hold of him. We start talking. He says, this is Kris, and because of my background in technology, I think he gave me the time to at least talk to me. He says, I'm going to be a little expensive. And I said, yeah, I get that I understand. We'll figure that out. The second thing he says is, I'm really busy and I may not be able to get to your book until the middle of 26. I said, yep, I understand that too, but I'm willing to wait. So in Audible, they have this 15-minute sample that the narrator has to give in order to kind of officiate the contract. So Eduardo does the 15 minutes and gets a hold of me the next day. And he says, Kris, I'm not putting your book down. I'm putting all my other stuff on the side, and I'm going to finish it this week.
Oh, wow.
So that was huge for me. To have a guy that's done the kinds of books he's done and the reading for the people he's done to say, I'm not setting this down and I'm going to finish the narration this week was huge for me. And he did. He got it done and really enjoyed it. And it's out there now, and you can listen to him on Audible and Apple and a number of other places.
Fantastic. That's amazing.
So the name that came to mind was Michael Caine.
I'm sorry?
The name that came to mind was Michael Caine. Yeah, I thought you just said Michael Caine.
Oh, yeah. Well, the first actor that came to mind was the guy that played God. Come on, Braden. In Bruce Almighty.
Yeah, man.
Morgan Freeman.
Morgan Freeman, yeah.
Bingo. Yeah, that's the first guy that came to mind. Because I thought he would be perfect, right?
Yeah.
His team that I talked to said it's going to be around $100,000 to sit down. Now, Morgan doesn't take the money. My understanding is that Morgan pretty much has the money go to charities that he supports and things. So it's not that he's after the money. It's just that he uses that as a filter because everybody wants to talk to him, right?
Yeah, sure.
But
no, I'm saying it's amazing he gives it to charity. That's amazing.
From what I understand, he's a very what's the right word? Down to earth person. Yeah. I've never met him personally. He lives fairly close to me. He's in another state, I think one state over, and he has a huge piece of property. I think he does his own gardening and his own stuff and pretty much does his own thing. And from everything I've heard about him, he sounds like he's be wonderful to talk to, and obviously to have him do the narration. But Eduardo did a phenomenal job, and I can't speak enough about him as well. So,
Oh, okay. Kris, that's amazing, man. Well, thank you so much for coming on here.
It's been amazing having you on. Fantastic.
Thank you, and thank you, Lee. I very much appreciate both you guys and what you're doing.
Yeah, we look forward to seeing you again, chatting again. Yeah.
And your new book.
Yeah. And then, like I said, I'll send you an email with it just so you have it, so you can start and then get whatever you want.
Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. Amazing, Kris. Thank you so much.
So before you go, your new book, Orchards, what's it?
Orchard Hush.
Orchard Hush. When are you expecting to
man.
release that?
Well, assuming I'm happy with my fourth draft, it'll be sometime middle of this year. But being an author, I've learned that you can't ever put a timestamp on this stuff. I might get another download from the world, or from this other consciousness, or this part of consciousness, or this co-creation part. Right now I'm on track for hopefully the middle of this year, but I don't know.
Okay, well, we look forward to it.
I'm sorry?
I said, well, we look forward to it.
Thank you. If you go to my website, krisland.com, there's a place under the Infinity Within series, the trilogy, where any of your listeners and you can pre-order. You don't pay any money. There's no money up front, but you put your name in, and then I have it for you so that I can send out the first edition copies to those.
Okay, amazing. That's amazing. Okay, cool. And we'll put the links in the show notes as well.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right. Well, thanks, Kris. Enjoy the rest of your evening or morning, or I don't know what time it is there.
For me, it's morning. For you, it's evening. Morning.
Yeah. Well, enjoy the rest of your day.
You do the same. Have a fantastic evening and week.
You too, Kris. Thanks a lot, man.
Cheers, guys. And let me know when you want to do this again.
Yes.
Yeah, 100%. Thank you.
Awesome. Take care.
Cool. Thanks.
Cheers, man.
Cheers. Bye.
Bye.
Cool.
Fantastic, man.
Awesome,
what
man.
A wonderful. That was a lot of fun. That was
nice.
I really enjoyed it. Enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah.
Thanks, Lee.
But it's nice when you've got, you know what, we're going through so much cuck in this world currently, and it gets a lot of people down. It's like, when you read, especially on YouTube, and I try and avoid it, but there's nothing you can do, because every bloody second YouTube video comes up. It's about this
corner.
It's about war in Iran, and then it's the Democrats versus the conservatives, and it's always like the two views that are fighting between each other. It's nice that when you've got a podcast that comes on that actually says, you know what, we're all part of this game. We're all here to learn something. It's, play the game. We're in it together. You know what I mean? It's just, it's nice when you come across that. It kind of just puts everything else in perspective. And I like that. I think that was actually really cool. Really lovely.
Yeah, no, it was very cool, especially in this time. Yeah.
No, awesome.
And Kris is a cool character. It was nice speaking to him.
100%.
But sweetly.
No, awesome, buddy.
Yeah.
Thanks to everybody for listening again. Hopefully you enjoyed that one. We went on long past what we normally do, and that's fantastic because it doesn't actually even feel like that.
Yeah, shows that it was good.
Yeah, it was so cool. Anyway, guys, check you guys next week. And that's it. Thanks, Will.
Yeah, and go watch the End of the World. I don't want to end this on a downer, but at elusistv.com, End of the World. It's got a great ending. It sounds hectic, but it's just hectic, but then it's got a great upbeat ending, and we might not all die. I don't want to give it away. Okay, cool. So go watch it. elusistv.com. Cheers, guys.
Cool. Cheers, bud. Cheers.
Bye.